Long before Joseph dreamed the dream, Jacob dreamed the dream and put that dream on Joseph. You say, no, but God gave him the dream. Now let's stop and let's park right here real quick. One, you say that because you've already gotten to Genesis 50. When he's living this, he's not in Genesis 50. He's in, my father gave me a robe, I'm going to rule, and they all hate me. He's in, and I had a dream, the Lord's going to use me. And here's one thing I learned about this text. You ready? It never said God gave him the dream. Now, it does show that there's a prophetic or a predictive element to it that we find out 17 years later. But when he's living in it, he doesn't even know that himself for sure. What we do know is that the coat came before the dream. What we do know is that sometimes we have dreams for our children that we place on them, that we project onto them, that they're not always ready to receive. And sometimes those dreams that we have for our children, those things that we project on our children, can lead them to bad spaces. Write this down. Parents can project their dreams onto their children. And when I say dreams, I'm talking about, it doesn't have to be one that you had at nighttime. Sometimes your dream is just your hope and aspiration. So here's one. I was supposed to go to the NFL. Not me. You can see that ain't my testimony. So now what we do, we put that on the child that this is your time to go to the NFL. I didn't get to go to college and get on that scholarship because I had an injury, but I want you to do it. Sometimes we put a dream for ourselves that we wish had happened in our own lives, and we can vicariously live through our children. If you don't believe me, you just need to show up to any sport in high school. Because you know what? We can't find dads coming to parent-teacher conferences. Y'all ain't going to say nothing. We don't find dads coming to PTA meetings. But I'm going to show up on the field. I'm going to be on the side of that court because I got a dream for you. And sometimes I've seen people, more than one person I've heard, that they'll even encourage your child for a quote-unquote, good thing, like, you know what, Will, I see you in church, and they used to tell me when I was younger I was going to be a preacher. And so because I didn't get my life together with God, that's what you're supposed to be. Projecting. The problem with projecting is that we can cater to the needs that we think that they have instead of to the ones they actually have. So while you project, you miss where the child actually is right now. Are you catching it? Because I'm so busy projecting where I want you to go, I'm missing your current needs. I'm going to say this. I reckon Joseph didn't need that coat that day. You'll find out that after this scene, after this chapter, we don't even see the coat again. It's so irrelevant. It was unnecessary. And sometimes, when we put things on people, either that it's the things that we want them to walk in, or we tell people stuff that they're not ready for yet. That's even one thing with even prophetic words. Somebody will come and give a prophecy, and then you create a mess because that person is not ready for that word. This is why here we always say, grab an elder. That way everybody's covered. If you got a word, share it in front of. We don't do parking lot prophecies. Y'all ain't going to say nothing. But if you got a word showing up from God, then you do what the scripture says. You let that word get judged. Because it's been many years. We've had to clean up behind the scenes because people are broken because they get a word that they ain't ready for. But it's not just hopes and ambitions that we place in our children. It's also our fears. We have fears that we place in our children, that we project onto them. I can imagine if Leah had the opportunity, she might say to her daughter, Dina, after the way your father treated me, you should never trust a man. That's projecting. I can imagine her saying on Dina's wedding date, you know, when I got married, right after I got married, your father left me for your aunt. Scandal ain't got nothing on the Bible. So you better always have something in your back pocket just in case. Projecting. Sometimes projecting sounds like, well, you know, life is not so fair. Don't get your hopes up because you were disappointed. Projecting. Sometimes projecting sounds like, you know, all women. Whenever you use big words like all and every time, you know you're going the wrong direction. All women are gold diggers. And all men are dogs. Projecting. Some of y'all felt that one. I can feel it up here. Parents that have a fear of failure will often put excessive pressure on their children to succeed. Not because of anything on the child, but because they don't want to have to live through the emotion of their own failure. Oh, I feel like I hit something right there. I'm going to give you 3 of these, and there's plenty more. I'll put an article up on Facebook later on today on our page. But I was reading some of these. The reason why we project is because as a parent, we don't want to relive the emotion. So I'm going to project this onto you so that I can avoid ultimately reliving this emotion. So parents who have failed in the past or have been let down in the past or have had missteps in the past or setbacks often put excessive, somebody say excessive, it's not just pressure, but excessive pressure on their child that you must succeed.